Have you heard the myth that your DAW doesn't matter? Well, it actually does if you care about productivity, getting more done in less time, having more books go out the door quicker and easier, have your templates in place before you ever start, and end up focusing on your performance. The higher end DAWs give you a return on your time, so you get residual time back every time you use it after you get things set up. So don't believe the myth that the DAW doesn't matter. It makes a big difference in how people succeed in this business.
Welcome to another episode of the Audio Barnyard Podcast with Don Barnes. I'm Donnie Barnes. We're brought to you, as always, by VOJumpstart.com, where we show you a ready-made system, setup, and processing stack that can increase your audio quality and dramatically cut your editing and processing time. Go to VOJumpstart.com and set up a free session with Don to find out if it might be right for you. So today we're talking about DAWs and that myth that does come up from time to time that, well, your DAW doesn't matter. And people mean well when they say this. And I think what they really mean, Don, is that you can succeed with any DAW. And that we do agree with. There are lots of people that have tons of success using all kinds of different DAWs. But the top ones, the best ones, the most well-made, well-thought-out DAWs do actually make a big difference for you over time. They return you time, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that the stronger DAWs have are they have things like templates, but that's a detail. The big picture is when you're using a more advanced tool, you can get more done in less time, have more options as your business grows, be able to grow your business faster, and end up with a higher quality product in the mix. So it's not just one thing. You can use anything. I know some people that could succeed on cassette recorders because they're such a strong performer. But then for those people that want to grow their business and maybe they start off and they have very simple needs on day one, that happens all the time. What they don't realize is a year from now or 2 years from now, some opportunities will come along. If someone asks you to do, Johnny Heller did a Winnie the Pooh book here recently, okay? Who would have thought that Johnny Heller would be doing Winnie the Pooh? But he's doing a children's title. Well, now that's become a very complex project because they have people that are doing American Sign Language and there are people that are doing all sorts of other things. So the project goes from a very simple, just read this, to somebody's putting all this stuff together. And when you have great tools, you don't have this ceiling that you can only do one thing. So I have a question for you, TB. I know you go and you're broadcasting games and it ends up, could you be doing what you're doing if you didn't have the tools that you have today, or what are the advantages of the tools that you have today?
Yeah, I couldn't be both a sports broadcaster and a full-time voiceover person if I didn't have good tools that were set up to allow me to crank out voiceovers really quickly.
How much editing do you do? I got to ask that. Sorry, I cut you off.
Zero. I do zero editing because all the editing is done as I punch and roll and going along. And then when I export from my DAW, all the audio qualities are set up in advance. All of the processing elements, the things that are going to be applied to the track, it's mastered when I hit export. And then I run it through a batch processing stack in RX, which you've set up for me. I click one button. It runs through 5 or 6 processes automatically on that file, and it's done. I will review it to make sure it didn't miss anything, but RX is so good, it rarely does. And that's why on a day when I have to drive 3.5 hours each way to broadcast games a couple times a week right now. And so there are times where I need to crank out voiceovers in the morning and then get in my car and drive and go do a game and then get back really late at night. And I might have another voiceover or 2 or 3 waiting for me when I get home. And I don't want to stay up another 2 or 3 hours doing those. So I have had to become efficient. I had to do that right out of the gate because I was doing sports broadcasting as I got into voiceover. So I had to be quick, and having the tools that I have allowed me to do that and to do both of those things.
Well, it's amazing. And we see this over and over again in the groups. Your mom has the same response. She reads these things in the groups where people are saying, oh, I hate editing. And oh, I hate this post-production stuff. Oh, I hate getting my stuff to ACX specs. Or oh, I hate getting this ready for my client. And she comes back to me sometimes and just acts like shaking her head. What are they talking about? Because she doesn't do that. Her punch and roll and her performance is so strong. She's really not focused on the tech. So here's one of the things that happens. When you have a great DAW, it takes care of details for you. It's like, what are those food services? HelloFresh, or I don't know what the other ones are, but
Blue Apron, yeah.
Blue Apron, there's a bunch of them out there. And what do? They bring you a box of stuff. The recipe's worked out. They say, hey, you need to cut up a few ingredients, but here's the recipe, here's the big picture. And then you can get a great meal without having to do a whole lot of work. And it's still something you're cooking at your place, and it's fresh ingredients, and it has some real bonuses from doing it that way. And in that case, that costs some money. Here's the cool thing about a great DAW. Most of the time you can pay once, and once you have it set up, then you get a return on your time. Then you get a return on everything you've invested in it every time you do a project. So a lot of times people start off with, well, I only need one track, as an example. And that's absolutely right. You know, we only need one track in this business because I only have one voice, and I don't even do multiple character voices. But here's what happens as you've been doing this a while. You sometimes can utilize the features in a more advanced DAW and have alternate tracks. So let me show you real quick something, and then Donna, you can make some comments and let me know your thoughts on it. But let's check this out. So let me show you from the beginning how simple this can be once you have a great quality DAW. So we go in this, I'm going to say new chapter, and I have some templates set up here. And each of these has some different things based on what I'm doing. If I'm doing a podcast like this, then I'm going to pull up one template. If I'm working an audiobook, I'm going to pull up a different template. This one's cleverly called Don's Audiobook. See how the depth that I have there. It's scary. And then everything else is pre-set up for me. So I would name it, what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to choose OK. Well, it comes up, it's all set up for me. And what people don't realize is, just like I have a dishwasher that could go ahead and wash all the dishes by just throwing in a little piece of soap, whatever they call that there, packet. Behind the scenes, there are a set of tools that are pre-set up so that you know what I'm going to do when I, quote, master my audio? I'm going to export it. And all these tools that are sitting here that are pre-done are going to master that audio. In the case, if I pull up an audiobook, I'm going to hit ACX specs because it's been tuned for me. And I do this for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And now when they come in, all they have to do is go in and they record. And when they're ready, when they're done, they export. And all their tools are applied and they get all that time back. They're not worried about trying to hit ACX specs and what are my peaks and what's my total RMS. They do check it, but they already have the tools to hit it and make everything work without them having to micromanage it. Just like I throw that little packet in the dishwasher and I don't know, it has rinse stuff in it, it has wash stuff in it. Do I know how that works? I have no clue. And you don't need to know this either. It just does the right things. And that's one of the things that will return time to you when you're using a tool like this.
Yeah, and this is something that people who only use, say, Audacity or Twisted Wave or other free DAWs, they don't realize this. Those DAWs don't have template capabilities. You can't set up templates with those. And so this is the equivalent of going from a kitchen where all of your silverware and all your dishes and plates and things are just stacked on the counter at random versus actually creating a system where you can put them where you want. And now the whole thing is organized and feels nice and you don't have to think about it. And that might not seem like a big deal for one project or for 10 projects or for 20. But over time, this adds up so much.
It actually becomes crazy over time. It's cumulative. So Donnie can sit and he's got a game this afternoon and he needs to crank out 3 or 4 voiceovers because he has a template set up for that. He grabs his voiceover template, he records, he exports, he's hitting the specs he wants for voiceover clients. When he was doing audiobooks, he had a template for audiobooks and he would open that up and he would do an audiobook and he hits those specs without having to think about it. And then as you grow, there's a bunch of complexity that's behind the scenes, but that's something that you don't need to see at first. It's brain dead simple at first. And then if you need, I have another project here. Let me go over to this other project. So this one, it looks like it's a simple project. Now, I've been doing this stuff for 10 years, so sometimes I want more complexity. I don't want it, but I need it because I did something and I want to do some revisions. Well, let's say I need to cut something out of this. Here's how hard it is. I highlight what I want to cut out. I might be more precise than that if I'm doing it for real. And I drag it down. And now what just happened? It took that little segment, put it down there, and now it closed up that little gap and I could go ahead and listen. Do I like it? Do I not like it? And if I want to put it back, I undo it. but that's how easy it can be. I was able to color code things because that allowed me to come back later and say, well, why are these red things here? Those were revisions I needed to make, and I didn't have time to do it. So what did I do? I right-clicked on it. I was able to set the color to something that made sense to me for coming back later. So behind the scenes, there are 100 little productivity enhancements that are available that won't be obvious at first, but that's okay. You don't even need to know about these. I just can't tell you how many things in life I don't know a bunch of details about. And when you start off, you can start off very simple, but the advanced tools give you options, and you can do what Donnie does. Donnie walks in, he's got a game this afternoon that he has to drive to, and he just goes ahead and gets his template, gets the right one, records, exports, he's hit the specs he needs, and he's gone. And all this adds up as you continue to do this.
Yeah, and you talk about this concept all the time of residual time. When we talk about money or investing, we talk about residual returns, right? Where you make a small initial investment or maybe a large one, whatever it is, but your goal is to over time have that money compound by a certain percentage every year. And over a long period of time, that money grows exponentially if we do it well and things work out, right? So a small amount of money can become a very large amount of money over time through this power of compounding interest. Similarly, this concept of compounding residual time, well, if you save just a little bit of time on every project and you extrapolate that out over a day, over a week, over a month, over a year, think about how much time you now get back to market your business, to do other things you need to do to grow your business, to spend time with your family, with your friends, to do things other than the grunt work of editing and mastering and extra steps that you actually don't necessarily need to be doing if you have the kind of tools that are set up well to save you time on every single project that you do from now on.
Yeah, it's all about making a small investment up front and then getting a return on it. Most of us went to school, high school, college, or whatever, took some classes, and we go and we sit in that classroom or we go online and watch YouTube videos so that, not because I want to take any of those classes, I want my time back later. So I don't recommend to anybody that they pay any attention to a DAW except for the fact that it'll return time to you. And that's where this argument about they're all the same, I kind of go, they're not the same because productivity, I can't get my time back. And the more efficient I can be about cranking this stuff out and have some high quality. I'm not willing to give up the quality just to have something quick. What I want is both, because I'm one of those I want it all type guys. I want higher quality and I want some time back. And therefore, I could sit here and show you for about 4 hours some little things that would make your life better. But until you're at a certain point, you probably won't appreciate it. Just like a great car, I might not appreciate it until if I got in an accident, I'd appreciate it has a bunch of airbags going off, saving me from myself. But I hope I never see that. I hope I don't need it. But if you do, there's great tools. And when you invest in them, you have a way to grow and be better. And you don't have to invest anymore. You just have to get the core stuff working right at the beginning. And over time, the other things reveal themselves to you. Or you can find tutorials and lots of good stuff like that. So hope this gives you a good idea. Donnie, did we miss anything there?
No, and the ability to have effects pre-set up so that you master with one click when you're finished recording is such a huge thing. And it's another thing that the free DAWs just don't allow.
Yeah, there's so many. I should have, let me show that. So here's a couple things that are interesting. Most of you probably have a refrigerator at home because you're one of those elitists. You've heard me say that before. And this is what you can do because home studios are notorious for having a low-end noise. I can go into the input. This is my input here. You would not know this at first. That's okay. But I can go into this with a couple clicks that you won't know where they are to begin with. I could just do a search. I'll search for a tool. And once I have that tool up, look at this down here. I have a fan running in the background when I'm recording this. I can go right here and I can set this tool up. And now, because it's at 75 hertz, I'm going to take that tool and I'm going to make sure that it filters out anything below my voice. Well, what's the value of that? Even if there was a refrigerator in my complex someplace that I don't hear, it's going to filter it out, and it has not affected my voice at all. And so this is just one example. Nobody is going to get this product because they can do that. Do I want to filter out that noise at the end of my production, or do I want to prevent it from getting in my production? And here's the thing. I've done this for hundreds of people where I've put this in because I know what their environment is like. And once it's on their template, they don't even pay attention to it. They don't know it's there. They don't have to micromanagement. All they have to do is do this. Start, go ahead and get something new. And if they pick their template that has that in it, it's all pre-set up. They don't know about it. They just go ahead and they record, they export. That's what Donnie does. That's what his mom does. That's what you can do with a great DAW. And these are just a couple examples. One other little minor thing I'll show you. This, no one buys this DAW for. While I'm sitting here, if I modify that file in the background, that's this file right here. When I right click on it, in the background, Studio One has been creating autosaves, which means little snapshots. That means if my computer blows up or I have a bad day, does it matter? Whatever the reason, I just want to go back to something from earlier today. I can go back with a couple clicks and get the version that was already here. And that first off, you may not use that feature for a year. You may not use it for 3 years. Or 3 weeks from now, you'll have something go wrong in your environment, and that will save you hours. Instead of having to go back and redo everything, you just go and grab all your autosaves, and it's cool. And the more advanced DAWs, they just give you your time back. Now, what's most important, those are only a couple examples. We could sit here for an hour and a half going through things, but you don't need to know all this stuff. If you bought a great car, you get in it and you drive it, and it's more reliable and it's more comfortable if you had a long drive. But you don't need to know, wow, how do they make the brakes work? Or how do I make it go in reverse? I don't need to know all the details. I just know I sit in it, it's comfortable. And in the rare cases where somebody makes a mistake and I get in a small accident, hey, airbags and seatbelts save me from a lot of things. But I don't know where the airbags are in my car. I mean, I don't know where every one of them is. I know there's a set of them. I hope to never know where they are. And the good quality DAWs give you a set of things, including better quality audio, much easier use, especially once you have a template, and the good ones support templates. And they will give you your time back. So if you take the time to learn one of them, you get to have a tool that allows you to get more done in less time.
Well, you talk all the time about this concept of residual time. Every time you record a project from now on, you are saving time that you otherwise would have had to spend. It would have taken you longer on a less advanced DAW with a lesser setup. And so on every single project you record, you're saving time. And think about how much that adds up over the course of a day, of a week, of a year, over 5 years. Think about the extra things you would be able to do, the extra time you'd have to market your business or to do other things that you need to do to grow your business, where you don't have to spend it doing the grunt work that isn't the fun part of this, that isn't the part that makes you money. Save yourself residual time, and it will lead over time to residual money in this business.
Yeah, and you'll hear testimonials. You'll hear people all the time that said, I started with one of the free ones, and then later I got one of the more advanced ones, and that I can't believe how much effort and time I'm getting now after they went through a learning curve. And no doubt about it, there is a learning curve if you're coming from something else, but it will pay you back. And what I guarantee, if you're doing audiobooks, yeah, you'll about break even on the first book, and then you'll have a return every other one. And imagine at the end of the year if you got 2 or 3 additional books out every single year because you have better quality tools. So the DAW doesn't matter, but you could say that about anything. My car doesn't matter, my food doesn't matter, but all those things in life that some people, it wouldn't matter to them what car they drive. If you're driving long distances, a higher quality car makes a difference. If you're recording a lot, having a great DAW returns over and over and over and over again. So don't think your DAW doesn't matter. It absolutely does.
That's right. And if you're looking for a ready-made system, setup, and processing stack that can increase your audio quality and dramatically cut your editing and processing time, like Don showed you a little hint of there in our video, again, we can do that over at vojumpstart.com. Feel free to set up a free session with Don there if you'd like. Until next time, for Don Barnes, I'm Donnie Barnes. This has been the Audio Barnyard Podcast.
And as always, we'll see you on the wires.